Depending on who you asked, he was either a national hero or a despised villain, a man who helped build one empire by plundering another. We're talking, of course, about Sir Francis Drake. And the question is pretty simple, really. Was he a patriot or was he a pirate? I have singed the King of Spain's beard. Just listen to that. This one single, audacious quote from 1587, it's boastful, it's provocative, and honestly, it just perfectly captures the sheer nerve of the man's actions against what was, at the time, the most powerful empire on Earth. So let's set the scene. Picture it. The year is 1587. Tensions between Protestant England and Catholic Spain are at an absolute boiling point. Now, this had been simmering for decades, fueled by religious strife and some pretty bold English moves, like when Queen Elizabeth seized a massive loan from Genoese bankers that was actually meant for Spain. So King Philip II has had enough. He's building this colossal fleet, the Spanish Armada, to invade and conquer England once and for all. But Francis Drake, he wasn't the sort to wait around to be attacked. He decided to strike first. So how did this one man, this one sea captain, become Spain's most feared enemy and a legend back home? Well, to really understand his status and that famous quote, we need to rewind the clock a bit, about a decade earlier. It all really starts here, with the first key event that basically cemented his reputation. An incredible, globe-spanning voyage that was part exploration, part treasure hunt, and, well, entirely groundbreaking. So between 1577 and 1580, Drake embarks on this absolutely epic 3-year circumnavigation of the globe. He sets out with 5 ships on a secret mission from the Queen, navigates the incredibly dangerous Strait of Magellan, and then bursts into the Pacific, an ocean the Spanish basically considered their own private lake. For months, he just sails up the coast of South America, plundering unsuspecting Spanish colonies and ships before eventually making his way home with just one surviving vessel, the legendary Golden Hind. Now, this mission had a bit of a dual nature. It was officially sanctioned by Queen Elizabeth I to attack Spanish interests. We call that privateering. It's basically state-sponsored piracy. So yeah, he seized enormous amounts of treasure, but he also massively expanded England's knowledge of the globe. And, crucially, proved that this tiny island nation could actually challenge a superpower on its own terms. And the financial success? It was simply staggering. The treasure Drake brought back delivered an estimated, get this, 4,000% return on the initial investment. I mean, that's not just profit, that's nation-building wealth. It was also a massive propaganda victory for the English crown. And when he gets back, what does Queen Elizabeth do? She doesn't just thank him, oh no. She climbs aboard the Golden Hind and knights him on the deck of his own ship. This wasn't just an honor, it was a huge, defiant public statement. England was celebrating the very man Spain was calling a common pirate. And as you can imagine, King Philip was absolutely furious. Okay, so that brings us forward again to 1587. All those simmering tensions from Drake's voyage have finally boiled over. And that leads us to the daring military action that gave us his famous quote, the raid on Cadiz. Drake's plan was just breathtaking in its audacity. He sailed his fleet straight into the heavily fortified Spanish harbor of Cadiz, catching them completely off guard. Over 2 days, his forces wrecked or captured about 30 ships. But here's the crucial bit. They burned immense quantities of supplies, things like seasoned wood for barrels, food, ropes, everything the Armada needed for its invasion. The strategic impact was absolutely devastating for Spain. And this is where that famous boast comes from. Singeing the King of Spain's beard was his colorful, brilliant way of describing this raid. It just perfectly captures the impertinence of it all, sailing right into the enemy's home and delivering a sharp, painful, and pretty humiliating blow. This single raid delayed the Spanish Armada by at least a year, and that gave England precious time to prepare. So what's the lasting legacy of all this? I mean, Drake's actions weren't just a couple of isolated events. They really were a turning point in the balance of world power. In the end, it really just comes down to your perspective, doesn't it? To the English, he was Sir Francis Drake, a hero, a defender of the nation. But to the Spanish, he was El Drake, the dragon, a ruthless pirate who pillaged their colonies. And the thing is, both of those views were, in their own way, completely true. But his exploits had these world-changing consequences. He proved that England's smaller, nimbler ships could outmaneuver Spain's huge, heavy galleons. He seriously weakened Spain's naval and economic grip on the world, and in doing so, he helped pave the way for the rise of the British Empire. So we come right back to our original question, patriot or pirate? Perhaps the label doesn't matter nearly as much as the result. Because whatever you want to call him, Francis Drake was a man whose incredible audacity fundamentally altered the course of history and completely redefined the rules of empire.